Why did the interior designer go broke? Because she had too many accents in the bank. Now, while we might chuckle at this playful jab, it does hold a grain of truth. The world of interior design, much like fashion, is ever evolving. Some trends that were once the talk of the town are now seen as outdated, or dare we say, tacky. Just as our designer with too many accents clinging to old trends can lead to design bankruptcy. So, without further ado, let's dive into the world of interior design faux pas. Remember when walls became a thing of the past? Well, they're making a comeback. Once upon a time, in the not-so-distant past, the open-plan living trend was all the rage. You couldn't swing a throw pillow without hitting a loft apartment or a suburban home where the kitchen, living room, and dining room were all one big, harmonious space. But like all good things, this trend is beginning to lose its shine. Why, you ask? For starters, the lack of privacy. It's all fun and games until you're trying to whip up a surprise anniversary dinner in the kitchen while your significant other is lounging on the couch a mere few feet away. Or when you're attempting to hold a conference call in the living room while your kids are having a dance party in the kitchen. Suddenly, those walls we took down start to seem pretty handy, huh? And let's not forget about noise control. Without walls, every sound echoes from one end of the house to the other. The clanging pots and pans, the blaring television, the incessant barking of the dog. It all becomes a cacophony of chaos that makes you long for the sweet serenity of separate rooms. So, while the open-plan design had its moment in the sun, it seems the pendulum is swinging back towards a more traditional layout. A layout that values privacy and quiet, and reminds us that sometimes walls aren't such a bad thing. So, if you're considering knocking down all your walls, you might want to think twice. From chic to bleak, the industrial design trend is hitting a rough patch. Once the darling of hipsters and loft dwellers, industrial design is rapidly falling out of favor. But why is this once popular trend losing its appeal? Well, for starters, industrial design tends to favor a cold, impersonal feel. The raw materials and exposed structures, while initially appealing for their uniqueness and edgy vibe, can leave a space feeling more like a warehouse than a home. This lack of warmth and coziness is a major turnoff for many homeowners. Moreover, the industrial trend often lacks the personal touch and individuality that many are seeking in their living spaces today. It's a style that's more about the building and less about the people living in it. This can make a home feel less inviting and more like a showroom. Lastly, the industrial design trend can be a bit too harsh for some tastes. The heavy use of metals, concrete, and other hard materials can create a stark and intimidating atmosphere. This can be off-putting for those who prefer a softer, more welcoming aesthetic. So, if you're a fan of exposed brick and pipes, it might be time to reconsider your design choices. While industrial design certainly has its merits, it seems that the trend is shifting towards more personal, warm, and inviting design styles. Less is more, not anymore. There was a time when we all fell head over heels for the minimalist design trend. Stripped back, clean lines, and a color palette wider than a dentist's office. But it seems that this once-beloved trend is on its way out, and there are a few reasons why. First up, it's the lack of personality. You see, minimalism is all about reducing everything to its bare essentials. While this does create a serene and clutter-free environment, it can also result in spaces that feel impersonal and almost clinical. Where are the family photos, the favorite books, the quirky souvenirs from your travels? Hidden away, that's where, and that's no way to live. Then, there's the lack of warmth. Minimalism often favors cool tones and sleek materials, but these can leave a room feeling cold and uninviting. Imagine coming home after a long day to a house that feels more like a showroom than a home. Not exactly the cozy welcome you were hoping for, right? And let's not forget the practicality issue. Minimalist spaces demand constant upkeep to stay looking their best. One misplaced coffee cup can throw the whole aesthetic off balance. It's a design trend that doesn't exactly lend itself to the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So, if your home looks like an Apple store, you might want to add a bit of clutter. So, we've covered the decline of open-plan living, the fall of industrial design, and the end of minimalism. But what does this mean for you? Well, let's break it down. Open-plan living, once the darling of the design world, is taking a back seat. We've realized that while the idea of a boundless, flowing space might feel liberating, it also means we're sacrificing privacy and quiet, two things we've learned to value more than ever in recent times. So, if you're considering tearing down those walls, you might want to pause and rethink. Then, we bid adieu to the rugged charm of industrial design. Yes, the exposed brick walls, raw materials, and warehouse vibes had their moment, but it seems we're craving a bit more warmth and comfort in our spaces now. So if you've been storing those metal bar stools and Edison bulbs for your next renovation project, it could be time to explore other design options. And of course, we said goodbye to minimalism. We're not saying clutter is the new chic, but we're certainly embracing a more lived-in look. The less is more philosophy may have led to some sleek, clean spaces, but it also meant homes could feel a bit sterile and impersonal. So if you've been restraining yourself from adding that quirky lamp or colorful rug to your space because it doesn't fit the minimalist aesthetic, it might be time to let loose. So where does this leave us? Well, it's simple. These changes are not about dismissing these styles completely, but rather about adapting and evolving. It's about taking elements you love from each trend and blending them into something uniquely yours. Remember, design is not about blindly following trends. It's about creating a space that feels like home to you. As we step into a new era of interior design, let's not be afraid to shake things up. Let's experiment with colors, textures, and styles. Let's make our spaces a true reflection of who we are. Remember, trends come and go, but your home should always be a reflection of you. So, design with your heart, not with the trend.